OB41 has just released on the public test server, and we've been able to give it a try. The servers actually have just gone down, but we were able to get 2 games in on the new map Stone Keep. There's also some other big changes that I'm going to be covering in this video, and quite big balancing ones as well. But the elephant in the room, let's talk about Stone Keep. Stone Keep is the new map that's in this sort of castle sort of setting. And again, just like the previous showed, it is a beautiful map and probably the best designed so far. It's a siege map, thank goodness, and it does have a lot of levels. On one side there's a chapel where you can go on top of lots of different levels inside, but there's also levels on like parapets, on walls going around, there's flank routes going around over walls, and there's some things that I've noticed for characters that may make them more powerful on this map. For example, Evie can jump over a lot of these walls and then jump back again. Basically, in other maps like Jaguar Falls, where there has been a wall that you can jump over, you can basically jump over it, not get hit, and jump back again before anyone can really react to you, whilst you can actually get several shots off. So I think that Evie is going to be quite potent in this map, and maybe one of the first picks that you go for. The capture point as well is very tight. It's almost like Jaguar Falls again. It's kind of closed in. It isn't so closed in as Jaguar Falls, but Drogos is definitely going to have a good time spamming his fire spits onto that point. Although there is a lot of cover on either side to fire at that point from far away as well. I think Canessa actually has a lot of spots to snipe from, and she can also, if you can get around and flank, you can get behind on top of the towers and the walls and easily jump around with your teleport without people being able to get to you that easily. Again, with the Evie counter, if she's not on your team, then it might be difficult to go against her, but as a Canessa with a Evie on your team, you might have a good chance of doing a lot of damage and disrupting the game. The map itself isn't too long, the payload push from the siege point isn't too far, and there are a few choke points, but it's more about this map's verticality than the sort of length of the map, and definitely looking forward to it. It's a good design and I'm happy with what's come out of it, and it's definitely going to be a good addition to the siege mode and probably my favourite map coming up. The extra 3 maps, Atrium, District and Undercity, are coming to a test mode. Currently you can go onto the play and look at the option, but it's grayed out at the moment, so we can't do that on the PTS, so we're only going to have to wait until the actual release of OB41 comes out to live. So let's talk about some of the biggest balancing changes, and there's 2 that really buff the healers, and the first one is a cauterize nerf. So the first thing is they're reducing the duration of cauterize from 2 to 1.5 seconds. Also, cauterize of different ranks won't stack on top of each other, so the strongest reduction will be the only one to be applied on a single target. This is massive. This means that healers aren't going to get completely countered at the end of matches. It also means that single click champions will probably not want to get cauterized so much because it's going to be hard for them to apply it. I still think cauterize is going to be important in games at keeping the healers at bay, and definitely going to be one of the picks that you pick on something that has continuous fire that you can spread the cauterize over everybody, or something like a automatic rifle, and it definitely will be used to counter healers still. But the second big buff is that now you get ultimate charge when you're a support champion whenever you do healing to teammates. Self-healing and healing to teammates that heals for 0 doesn't count and doesn't provide ultimate charge, but healing counting in general is huge because it'll mean that you have your ultimates quicker as a support. And for example, a Maldamba who literally just can heal, and we've seen in the finals when an Maldamba's there, they'll do a lot of healing, not a lot of damage. It means that they'll have their ultimate up quicker every time, really. I think this is good that we've had 2 big buffs for the healers, and hopefully they'll be in the meta more. Maybe we'll have 2 healer combos and maybe some other combinations that are more interesting. Either way, it spices up the meta, and maybe it'll change in a few months, but that's just how I find the meta fun, in that it can change and that it's fluid rather than being stuck in one place all the time. But I think this is a good step to making supports more viable. Okay, onto the champion balances, and actually I think they've listened to a lot of the feedback, or Well, the feedback that they got at HRX from the pro teams, basically the champions that have been tweaked are the ones that were underperforming in the World Finals. So the first one is Barik is getting a health increase from 2,900 to 3,400. So before, Barik had less effective health than Buck, who's a flanker, and it really did make Barik one of the weakest champions out there, and he's very vulnerable to the higher damage champions. It'll be interesting to see how the extra 500 health actually benefits him. I don't think it's a huge buff, but it was a nice nudge in the right direction, and Barik in HRX was hardly picked, and when he was picked, he showed up as being one of the weakest tanks. And in live gameplay as well, he does struggle at the moment. Grok is another champion that was in a bad place and wasn't actually picked once in HRX, but what they've done is increase the healing from 340 to 520 per second from his healing totem. And that's quite a big buff and may make him more viable, but the real problem with Grok is his ultimate is hard to use or is extremely situational and doesn't heal himself, which leaves him vulnerable. So I don't know whether Grok is going to be 100% in the meta, but I think he's going to be much more viable as a pick because of the extra healing and because of the ulti charge, although again, he's not one of the champions that benefits most from ulti charging because his ultimate isn't all too great. Skye's wrist crossbow also got buffed. Basically they're increasing the arrow count from 15 to 20, and that's quite big because it just allows you to take out swisher targets and slightly harder targets like the damage champions, and it's a nice little nudge that is just trying to get her back in line with the other flanking champions, as she is underperforming at the moment and invisibility doesn't do enough for her. Mostly I think it's because of the fact that she's got this horizontal movement that makes her so bad compared to the other flankers who have a lot of vertical movement. They can basically either jump or fly or teleport. They've got a lot of movement compared to Skye, who has invisibility but has no way of getting up walls and things like that. Tyra was another champion that also was struggling in games, and they've just got a very small buff from 2,200 health to 2,400. That little nudge is just a nice little buff to Tyra, who was in a bad place and really didn't get picked in HRX either. Definitely is one of the weaker champions at the moment in the game and is very situational, and you only really want to take her if you know that the enemy team has two tanks and they're tanks that want to be on the point, like a Ruckus and a Fernando, especially with a large health pool. Anyway, those were all of the buffs that they made so far, and although they don't maybe get to the root of the issues of a character, they do nudge them to make them slightly better, and these are definitely the champions that were underperforming in the last patch and were shown to be underperforming at HRX, the World Finals. There are other changes as well, more general changes. One that's actually not listed is there's a new quest system, so there's different quests, so you playing 2 games of support or a damage champion is one of the daily quests, then you've got one to win like 5 games and then one playing with party. Generally they're spicing up the quest system and I like the direction they're taking with that. Also, and I don't want to hype this up because it might change, and I guess it will change, because basically at the top it says there's bonus quests, and if you do 2 quests you get crystals. It's listed as 200, but I can't imagine that being right, and if it is, great. But in general, if they start giving out crystals for doing lots of quests, basically it rewards people for playing a long time every day, and I think that's a great idea for player retention and also allowing people that don't have the money to get it by playing a lot, and basically being those players that do spend money can play against. I think that's just how free-to-play games work. You know, they have to make money, but it's always nice to be able to get something towards those cosmetic skins, even if it is quite slow. Payload mode has been changed. Basically the starting credits are going from 400 to 1000, and they've basically increased the credit spooling in payload, so every second to go from 1 to 2. So basically the gain in payload will be a lot bigger, and I think this was really needed because you never got to like any level 3s in payload mode because it just wasn't long enough to get any sort of items together. I think this 1000 and doubling the passive credit game will mean that items actually play a bigger role in these payload matches. Another huge one that is so annoying in this patch is that they fixed the weapon skin emote and spray selections not appearing unless you select them again in like the pre-match or just before the game. So now they should stay forever unless you change them, which was so annoying before, so let's hope that that one definitely stays like that and we don't get anything quirky like that again. Another interesting addition is that deployables and pets now have an outline like players, which is just a nice touch, I guess, so that if they're spotted you can see them through the map, or you can see your allies' deployables as well. Just helpful to know where your deployables are on your team. They also fixed that weird bug where your health pool showed a different amount to what it actually was, which was very annoying before, but actually that seems to be changed at the moment. Another thing that isn't mentioned and seems to be a nod to Torvald, the new champion, is there's this little symbol above your health, and it looks like a Norse symbol or sort of runic sort of symbol. This might be to do with some sort of mana or energy that Torvald pulls off, or perhaps it'll be just the shield symbol. It's very up in the air at the moment, but I think it's bugged on every champion at the moment, and maybe we shouldn't be able to see it. Perhaps it's something that only Torvald can see and sort of siphons off players, but other players on other champions shouldn't see that statistic. But at the moment it's stuck at like 9,999, which is just so high anyway, so sounds like a ridiculous number. Anyway, this patch, I mean, firstly dropping those 4 maps on us, even though 3 of them are going to be in a preview mode, and Stone Keep just coming out, and having all of these good changes. They've actually listened to the pro scene and what happened at HRX, I think is a great step forwards and is really promising for the future of the game. And I'm looking forward to OB41 actually coming to live, and hopefully you can get some more gameplay of Stone Keep and OB41 in general over the course of today, if the servers go back up again. But I sorted out Discord games before in the custom servers, but we'll just have to see whether or not the public test server comes up again, because I'm going to guess, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, that OB41 will come maybe Thursday or Friday. I hope it's not Saturday, because that could ruin our tournament, but basically usually the patch usually comes out a day or 2 days after it comes onto the public test server, and it doesn't seem to be that buggy. There seem to be a few issues like that little icon from Torvald, but in general it seems to be rather stable. Apart from it obviously crashing because it crashed on us and we couldn't play it anymore, but that's something else. I think that's the servers going down. Anyway, what do you all think about OB41? Are you looking forward to it? And how do you feel about the direction of development? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you thought it was rubbish, give it a dislike. Subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Joshino.